Kristan. Welcome to this new episode of How to Win This Week on the Explicitly Pro-Life podcast. You know, the left claims that conservatives like to keep the elites in power in order to control the masses, but it really seems like that's the left strategy. Case in point, number one would be the nomination of Judge Kentanji Brown Jackson to the Supreme Court. As we all know, President Biden pledged during his election campaign that he would appoint only a pro-abortion justice to the Supreme Court. And he actually went further than that in saying that he was going to appoint only a Black female pro-abortion justice to the Supreme Court. So he found her in Kentanji Brown Jackson. And it's really interesting because there were a lot of different names that were floated as to who this Black female jurist would be. And really, Jackson was the most extreme of the extreme that we were researching in the pro-life movement and considering. She is not simply a pro-choice or a mushy middle or a person. She is a pro-abortion advocate. She's had a long-standing relationship with Planned Parenthood, a long-standing relationship with NARAL, which we know is founded as a National Association of Appeal Abortion Laws. Now they're called NARAL Pro-Choice America. She actually clerked for the current Supreme Court Justice Stephen Breyer when he wrote the majority opinion striking down the Nebraska law, which banned horrifying partial birth abortions. The case was called Stenberg versus Carhart. You can read the opinion. She probably had a hand in writing that opinion as a clerk for the court. I mean, I don't need to go through with you all the gruesomeness of the partial birth abortion procedure, but if you know a friend who does, give me a call. I'll be happy to demonstrate. It's absolutely a horrific procedure. She also joined an amicus brief in an effort to block pro-life access to a peaceful protest in front of abortion vendors in Massachusetts. That was in 2001. She also, as a district court judge, ruled in 2018 against President Trump's administration and some of the early termination of federal grants under the Teen Pregnancy Prevention Program, demanding that the president and his Department of Health and Human Services did not have the right to withhold funding from Planned Parenthood. Literally, she wanted to force the Trump administration to use our taxpayer dollars to give more money to Planned Parenthood, and said it didn't matter if they were violating federal law with co-locating abortion facilities inside them, they should still be eligible to receive abortion facilities. Let me get this very out there very plainly to say, abortion is not in our Constitution, Kentanji, but free speech is. And anyone who is a future Supreme Court justice should absolutely 100% understand this. So the question is, for you and for me as pro-life activists, how do we win? What can we do? Is this a lost cause? Many people are writing off Brown Jackson's nomination to Supreme Court as a lost cause, like it doesn't matter, it's not going to change the conservative versus the liberal balance. But what a lot of folks don't understand is that Mitch McConnell, being the complete badass that he is, right before the Justice Breyer announced his retirement, came up with a power sharing agreement there in the Senate because it's evenly split, even though the Democrats have they have one person majority, that essentially Republicans and Democrats are jointly ruling the Senate Judiciary Committee, which, if you all remember from the last few years of the 3 Supreme Court justices, pro-life Supreme Court justices that President Trump nominated were confirmed, the hearings, all of that stuff goes through the Judiciary Committee. The Judiciary Committee then votes, then it goes to the full Senate for a vote. Under this new power sharing agreement, Republicans and Democrats are equal on the committee. So now if all the Republicans would actually stick together and vote against her nomination, she would not advance to the full floor of the Senate for a vote. That is possible. So what I would encourage you to do is contact you have two U.S. senators telling them that under no circumstance, a woman who believes abortion should be in the Constitution but not free speech should not be confirmed to the U.S. Supreme Court. That should be like a very basic standard that folks that are confirmed to the Supreme Court understand and respect free speech, even free speech of those that they disagree with, like pro-lifers. Second case in point of Democrats' recent, campaign of deceit, distraction, disregard was the Women's Health Protection Act. It actually failed this past week in the U.S. Senate. We call it the Women's Health Endangerment Act. Other people are calling it the Abortion Up Until the Moment of Birth for Any Reason, sometimes with Taxpayer Funding Act. This is significant because while, the world is watching Russia's aggression and complete disregard for human life invading the Ukraine, Democrats in Washington, D.C. have been doing the exact same thing and trying and failing to pass the Women's Health Protection Act. This bill would codify Roe versus Wade into law because, as you know, we've been talking about, the abortion industry is terrified, absolutely terrified that Roe versus Wade is going to be reversed this June with the Dobbs decision. And so they're doing everything in their power. They're throwing everything up against the wall to reclaim and to ensure their right to abortion. This bill would basically make law of the land Roe versus Wade. As you remember, Roe versus Wade was not a bill that was passed by Democratic elected Senate and House. It was a decision by 7 men that then trumped all state rights, all state laws on abortion. This would be a bill that would be passed. It would be signed into law to legalize abortion all 9 months for whatever reason, and with taxpayer funds, meaning women who are receiving Medicaid, federal subsidies for healthcare, we would have to fund abortions for any reason up until the moment of birth. And it would actually go further than Roe versus Wade because it would also demand that the Department of Justice, the President's Department of Justice, part of his or her cabinet, the DOJ would actually have to certify every state law that has been passed and enacted or will be passed and enacted to make sure it lines up with their law, meaning no state ever will be able to pass any law to restrict abortion. So you may live in Mississippi and say, well, this is great because when Roe's reversed, we're going to ban abortions. It's going to be a done deal. And I've been talking about a lot is no, it's not, because the abortion industry is just going to be shipping chemical abortion drugs from California, New York, and Illinois into your state. But if this law would be passed, it doesn't matter what your state legislator says because the United States will say that federalism is dead and it doesn't matter, and they're going to make all the rules for every single one of Americans. This is significant. This actually goes against even what the majority of young people say that they want. In our institute, Dimitri Institute for Pro-Life Advancement Study that Students for Life announced, our poll that we put out in January, we found that 8 out of 10 of Gen Z and millennials, so 18 to 34-year-olds, want a voice and a vote for abortion policy in their state. And this poll actually was pretty evenly split, pro-choice, pro-life, but actually leaned more liberal, more pro-choice. This is, people think that this is common sense, that they should have a vote, they should have a voice on what abortion policy is in their state. This Women's Health Protection Act, Endangerment Act, would take away that. I also thought it was interesting that Chuck Schumer called this vote knowing he was going to lose, thanks to Joe Manchin, the Democrat senator there in West Virginia. He knew they were going to lose. It was kind of a gift to the abortion lobby to get this vote. They also did it, and for them, what is perfect timing because the world's been watching Russian aggression and what disregard for human life looks like when you have a dictatorship like what's happened there in Russia. But I think something that we all need to be paying attention is this is exactly what we will get if we fail to see pro-lifers win the Senate in 2022. The Democrats, the pro-abortion left, has been very clear about what they intend to do. Stack the Supreme Court with more judges like Kentanji Brown Jackson. They want to get rid of, abolish the filibuster, which our founding fathers, established to protect the rights of the minority, to make sure it's not mob rule in our country. And they will ram down our throats abortion for whatever reason in all 9 months, taxpayer funded. They will usurp all conscience rights that we've had in our country, forcing anyone who works in healthcare to disregard their deeply held religious or personal beliefs, to participate, refer for abortion, and they will usurp all state laws that have been passed that restrict abortion. This is exactly what the Democrats are campaigning on. They don't really have anything else to campaign on. I just tried to fill up gas and it was like more than $150. $150 didn't even fill my gas tank. So they don't really have a lot to campaign on. So apparently this is how they're trying to get their base out. So we need to be very, very clear when we're talking with friends and family members as to why 2022 matters, why we must vote pro-life first, because Chuck Schumer and the abortion lobby has already told us what we will see if the Democrats control the U.S. Senate come January 2023. So make sure you're registered to vote. Make sure every pro-lifer is registered to vote. Make sure you've signed up with Students for Life Action to help us get out word. We're going to be in 18 different states organizing election deployments and primaries and generals, because as y'all know, we will be primarying some Republicans because we believe that, both Republicans and Democrats need to be held accountable to their pro-abortion views when they have them. But also make sure you get out calling your U.S. senators and their home offices, their D.C. offices now, telling them to vote no on advancing Brown Jackson to the full Senate floor for a vote, and that she should not be confirmed to the Supreme Court because she doesn't understand basic freedom of speech. That's it. Sorry, I won't be more bossy anymore this week, guys. See you next week.